All right, so we're going to make some progress. I know it. So there's two things to remember. There's the string shapes themselves. So the E string shape 7 root 2. But in between the E string shape shares that 7 root with the D string shape. Notice I have top and bottom staggered labels. That's just because you can't fit the overlap on the bottom, or I'd have to do something like this. I'd have to take this label here, all right, and actually put it underneath here down to that G there. All right, and of course it's a little longer than that. You know, this is what I'd have to do for it, something like that. You know, for that G label, and then that becomes a little confusing. So we'll go ahead and give it its own space. It's just above it, and we're saved by the bell because the top string and the bottom string in a cage shape in the entire guitar are the same notes, just 2 octaves off, right? So we can use that. We can use that in the string shape identification. So we have the string shapes, and we also have the notes that are in between the string shapes. Okay, so we have our 6/7 root is the G shape up here, and so we have that kind of information over here. So let's go back to the ladder. All right, this is very interesting because you can use caged to actually go up in fifths or fourths. When I say use caged, you can use it forward. Forward caged is a descending scale. Backwards caged is an ascending scale. And it says things like that. So if you want to look at it as pentatonic ascending or descending, these are the cage shapes. And the reason why some of them are elongated and some of them are shorter is that same problem up here where we have the overlap. So if we're looking at the E, we're focusing on the E and we're focusing on the C here, then the D shape, which is in between the two of them, I had to put it somehow. So here's your E, here's your C, and here's your D. We just put it smaller in between, knowing that it is the intersection between those two shapes, right? So to speak. It's not the intersection, there's no intersection between E and C, but the intersection between D and E plus the intersection of D and C equals the D box. So it's just shown smaller here, and they take turns being smaller. But the point is, when we look at the fretboard, these are the string shapes. Whether I list them like, whether I list the string shapes like this, okay, whether I list them like this, make it really big, there's a string shape. Whether I list the E string shape like 7 root 2 or 7/8 2, whether I list it like that or I just put an E there, it's the same thing on this diagram, And it doesn't change that often. You don't have to be that untrusting of it, like, oh, it's another diagram, is that going to be different? The E cage shape is the E cage shape. Here it is. The only thing about these shapes up here is, in my theory, the Andy theory, that this is a tripentatonic. Let's look at the D shape here, and this is the entire D shape here. So I'm just going to redraw that big here. All right, going to redraw it big. Here's the D shape. Okay, just forget everything else around it and look at the D shape here. This is not only the D shape, but it also includes it's a tripentatonic. It includes the G shape fourth and the A shape fifth. Okay, so D shape by itself, a D shape pentatonic would just be 2, 3, 5, 6, root 2, 3, 5, 6, root 2, 3. You would not include the fourth because it's not in the D pentatonic. But the fourth is in the G-shaped pentatonic. Okay? So it would be, that's why it's there, because it's a tripentatonic. And with the A shape, you got 2, 5, 7 there. Well, that's pretty much the A shape follows the D shape. The A shape would be 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 5, and then 6, 7, 2, 3. Okay, so this tripentatonic box includes the fourth there because we're including all of the modal members. Okay, and by the way, the way to get the half diminished, it says here D minus 5. Okay, if we do a D minor shaped sixth chord, that would do as a good modal substitution. So if we look at a D minor shaped sixth chord, all right, let me make sure I get this right. All right, I got it. If we look at a D minor, we're talking about a D minor 6 shape chord. This is the first time I've actually, well, I don't often use the local interval. So when I say D minor 6th, I mean if the key is C, it would be this. So this is the D minor, this is the D minor 6th, and D minor 6 second inversion, guess what? That is the B half diminished. So when you say 6th, when you go D minor 6th, in music, you're not going to play the 5th, you're going to play the 6th. So I'm using the good old, the good old chords, chord nomenclature there. So you can look at that as a D minor 6 instead of looking at it as a D minor a D minor diminished on the 7th. So how would that be? That would be, okay, you take it's going to be a D minor shape, and we're going to diminish the 5th. It's almost the same thing, but you have to start it from the 7th. Because remember, this is the first, this is the second, the third. So when I say a G minor shaped third, we're starting on the 3, buddy, and doing a G minor shape. With the E, we're starting on the 2, and we're going to do an E minor shape. Well, here's your second inversion E minor shape there. 6, 2, 4. Okay. G major shape, we're going to start on the 4th, so this 4, 6 root. A major shape, here's our second inversion, here's our 5th, A major shape 5th. C minor shape 6th, we're going to start on the 6th. So remember, C is usually in second inversion, so it would be 3, 6 root 3. That's your C minor shape 6th. D minor diminished 5th, we start on the 7th, and here is your second inversion D minor, and then diminish. Here's your D minor shape, but we don't play this, we diminish that 5th. But another way of looking at it is a D minor 6th. Okay, so it would be essentially the same thing. Instead of diminishing the 5th, we're doing a D minor 6th, and the 6th of D minor, the local 6th, is the B, so that we're starting here. Okay, so instead of 2, 4, 6, which is right here now, we're changing the 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 2 like that, which is a first inversion D minor or second minor, 4, 6, 2, right? First inversion has the root on top. We're going to play the 6th of that, so the 6th in the parent, in the root